think I kind of like this. So you got a mess right there, though. It's a little bit of a mess. Eventually, we will get there. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, it is just me. I'm here by my lonesome. No Benjamin B. He's still off in Minnesota. And I tell you what, we have been busy. So much going on, not only here with the podcast and just, the whole studio and everything, trying to make it look more production-like, but with Rock Recovery Center. I mean, we are busy, and it's all very good stuff, and we're super grateful to just be able to do what we do. But man, I'll tell you, it's hard making sure to come out with a podcast every 2 weeks. I need Ben to get back here, and we need to get back on interviewing people, but that's why I'm kind of messing with the studio, and I have to figure out some camera stuff, and it's not easy because I'm an amateur at this. I'm not, a videographer, and everything that you have seen or heard has been really just me learning on the go, but I'm super grateful to be able to do it, and hopefully can get some good interviews coming up soon, and looking forward to that. So, but first things first, thank you for watching on YouTube. And if you like what you're seeing, please share it with people. And also, if you want to reach out to either myself or Ben, you could email us, tom@realrecoverytalk.com and ben@realrecoverytalk.com. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask you for your phone number, and we're going to have a phone conversation about your specific situation and see if we can help you. And ultimately, what we want to do is help you turn your mess into your message. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my mess to message sign. It just has mess up there because, again, I'm figuring all this out. All right. Well, that was fun. And I do have to say, listen, I've been sick for 3 weeks now. I've had this cough, I've had nasal congestion, I've had it all. My kids have had it, my wife has it, and I finally yesterday decided, okay, I need to take some sort of antibiotic. So that's what I did. So I got to do that for 5 days, and hopefully this can be gone out of my life, and I can have my voice back, and I can breathe again. So pray for me. If you pray for me. And if you don't pray for me anyway. All right, so what I wanted to discuss today is because this is something that somebody had a conversation with me about a couple of days ago, is staying motivated. And again, I know I've discussed this at length in the past in other episodes, but it's one of those topics that it's important that it gets brought up again and again, because motivation is something that is in my opinion, we need to stay motivated. We need to continue to want to pursue sobriety. And part of that is motivation. I don't care what anybody says. If you lose motivation, then, the next best thing is just reverting back to drugs and alcohol. And we obviously can't do that. So, we have to figure out a way to stay motivated when times do get tough and we want to throw in the towel. What can we do to get back on the horse? And that's what we're going to discuss today. And I have just 4 simple topics or just points that I would like to bring up. And hopefully it can give you a little bit of insight on, at least what I share with our clients here and anybody that I interact with when it comes to staying motivated, especially in early sobriety. Because when you get to a certain point, this becomes autopilot. Sobriety, in the beginning, it's at the forefront of our mind. But when you get to a certain point, it isn't anymore. And it's just something that we do. It's just how we live our lives. And that is ultimately what we want to get to. So we're not constantly walking on eggshells and worrying about, if we're going to relapse and, so on and so forth. All right. So point number one is we got to keep things into perspective. And this is what I share this with my clients here, with people that I interact with that are in early sobriety, keeping things in perspective. You have 30 days clean. You have 60 days clean. You have 90. You have 9 months of sobriety, and things may not be going the way that you like them to in this very moment. But keep things in perspective. Understand that, it's like the saying, this is a marathon. It's not a race. Okay. I can't tell you how many people I interact with that they want, and they want it right now. I want to get the job. I got to get my job back. I got to get a car. I got to get this. I got to get that. Until I get these things, I won't be able to get to where I want to be, so on and so forth. So I tell people, let's take a step back and let's look at where we were just a short 30, 60, 90 days ago. And you were drinking before you were even getting out of bed. You weren't eating. All your relationships were destroyed. You got fired from your job. You had a needle hanging out of your arm. You were living in a trap house. You were homeless. You were at the lows of lows. Maybe you overdosed. You died. You got brought back. Keep things in perspective. Understand that you have years and years and years of addiction. You have years of substance abuse in some capacity. You're not going to get everything back in a short 30, 60, 90 days, or even maybe a year or two. And that's the reality of it, is it takes what it takes. And I know it's super cliche and we hear it all the time, but it's so true. So I tell people, keep things in perspective. One of the other things that I share with people is, okay, so here we are, we're in treatment, or you're in your first month of sobriety and maybe you're not in treatment, but you're attending meetings and, you're maybe a part of your local church and you're involved in their Celebrate Recovery program or whatever the case is. It's great. And it's important that, we are nearsighted. We do want to stay focused. We want to stay in the moment. There's the saying in AA and a lot of 12-step programs and recovery programs, if you got one foot in yesterday and one in tomorrow, you're pissing all over today. I get it. I understand. And I think what that is saying is just slow down a little bit. But I am a big fan of, let's have some sort of plan. Let's have some sort of outline as to what we want to do with our lives, with our sobriety. And so I'll have people start with just small attainable goals, things that we can accomplish in our sobriety over the course of 90 days. What does that look like? It could vary for everybody. If it's somebody that has nothing, they have no money, they have no car, they have literally the bag of clothes that is left from their belongings. Well, how about over the next 90 days, let's work on getting some sort of part-time job. We're not looking for a career. We're just looking for a job. Maybe you go to Publix. Maybe you go to, some sort of retail store. Maybe it's a restaurant. I don't know. It's something. It's putting money in your pocket. And, when you do start getting money, let's come up with a little bit of a budget. Let's have some guidelines around your money, right? Maybe it's, I want to, part of my plan is I want to explore new things. I want to explore different hobbies and stuff. I've spent so many years, drinking and drugging that I ultimately forgot what I enjoyed. And, for me, for instance, a couple of those were archery and golf. I was big into archery, as you know, if you've listened to any length of time. And I was big into golf. I love golf. I love archery. And when I got sober, I had realized that I hadn't done either of those in a really long time because drinking had become more important. So, part of your plan is maybe to incorporate some of your hobbies that you lost over, your using and drinking. And what does that look like? Well, if you're a golfer and you live somewhere that allows you to golf year round, hey, I'm going to try and make it out onto the golf course once a week. Hey, I'm going to go out and clean my golf clubs. I don't know, something as simple as that. Figure out the things that you enjoyed when you were using or before you were using that maybe your addiction took away from you, and let's incorporate that back in some capacity. Having goals, I think, is important because it gives us something to stay motivated for, and that's what this whole entire podcast is about right now, is staying motivated and understanding that, we want to get somewhere. Putting down the drink and the drug is super easy. For the most part, it is. But we have to find things that is going to fill that, because drinking and drugging for a lot of people was a lot of fun for a very long time until it wasn't. But we have no problem going back to it if we have to. So what can we do to fill our time? Give us a little bit of a plan. These are the things that I want to attain over the next 30, 60, 90 days, or maybe even year. And, how am I going to get there? What are the goals that I have for myself? And, these goals you can do the small goals, and then you can go as far out as you want. You get the point. If you're listening to this, you're an adult, you know what goal setting is, but it's just to keep us motivated. And I love the idea of people, putting sticky notes on their kitchen or bathroom mirror. Anything. If you're driving in your car, if you have a car, putting a sticky note on the console thingy where the speedometer is. Maybe it's a picture of a place that you want to visit. Print that picture out, and put it there. So it's something that can reinforce, hey, this is, maybe it's your family. If, your family is very important to you, as it should be, put a picture of your family there. If your parents or your loved one or your spouse, your children wrote you a note that really impacted you, make photocopies of that note and post them other places. So it's a constant reinforcement that you're doing the right thing. The next point that I try and tell people to do is celebrate the small wins. And I don't see a lot of people doing this very often, but I think it's very important. You're allowed to celebrate. You're allowed to be proud of yourself. You're allowed to, enjoy everything that you've worked for. So I tell people, when you are down and out, when you're having a hard time, when you can't grasp the idea of going on any longer, take a look at what you've done. Take a look at the wins that you've accomplished. Maybe you've gotten to a point where you made a purchase of a car and, you paid cash for this car and it's serving you well and it's taken you to a job that you maybe don't like, but hey, it's a job that's putting money in your pocket and you're starting to understand the ideas of responsibility again. Maybe you have the relationships back with your children that you lost, or your spouse that you lost, or your parents that, they couldn't stand you 6 months ago and now they love you. Not that they didn't love you before, but they love you again as the sober person that you are. And maybe they're coming to you for help. Celebrate that stuff in whatever capacity you want to, whether that's on an emotional level or a physical level. Go buy yourself something, take a group of friends out, go to dinner, anything that is going to allow you to celebrate your small wins. I think it's very important. Take a trip somewhere. If you're afforded the opportunity and you have the abilities and you want to go somewhere. By all means, you've earned it. A lot of times when people go down this whole sobriety lifestyle, they make it appear as if it's like we can't, like we're supposed to do this and we're, we have to make up for all the people that we've hurt and all the destruction that we've caused. And yes, I mean, that is important to recognize those things, but just as hard as it was living as an addict and an alcoholic, it's just as hard getting sober. And you deserve to reward yourself for your efforts. And I think it's definitely a must. And the last thing is, I have people oftentimes just reference what it was like. You could be 60 days into this and life sucks. I get it. Things just don't seem to be going the way that you want them to be going. And it can be frustrating. It can be just enough to make you want to throw in the towel. But it cannot be worse than what it was like when you were drinking and drugging. And if it is, you've missed something somewhere. You're not all in. There's more work that needs to be done. I don't know what that is. Maybe you get a therapist or something. Maybe if you don't have a sponsor at this point, get a sponsor, somebody that you can talk with. But your 60, 90 days of sobriety, the worst day of your sobriety should not be anywhere near your best day of using. What I mean by that is sobriety it's priceless. It's something that nobody can take away from us. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be fulfilling. We're supposed to love it. There are tough days, but I'll tell you what, looking back on my best days of drinking, my best days of drugging, they do not hold a candle to my worst days in sobriety. One of the worst days of my sobriety is when I walked in and I found my dad on the floor after he had a massive stroke. That was probably one of the worst days of my sobriety. But I'm so grateful that I was sober. And that day was not that my best day of drinking, my best day of drugging doesn't hold a candle to that experience. It was a tragic experience. I wished I wouldn't have had to have gone through it, but I did. And now over a year later, I see why I went through it, and I see the growth that has come from that experience. So it's important to, always remember what it was like. And whatever way you can do that, I think is very important. Facebook, I started my Facebook years and years and years ago when it came out. And I remember that when I was having a hard time in early sobriety, I was probably 6 months sober. I was just scrolling through Facebook, my photos, and I had seen some of the photos that were on my Facebook. And at the time, obviously, those photos represented happiness. They represented fun. They represented friendship. But when I saw those photos at 6 months sober, they represented misery. They represented a time in my life that I was at the lowest point of my life. I was full-blown alcoholic. I didn't care about anybody or anything other than alcohol. And these photos were a representation of that when I was seeing them through sober eyes. And that was a good thing for me to experience because I knew that that is not something that I want to go back to. And still to this day, those memories are etched in my mind. They will never go away. And I'm grateful for that because it keeps me on my toes and it keeps me motivated to stay on the course. So I hope that helps you. Stay motivated, understand that this is all worth it. You could be in a position right now to where it doesn't seem worth it. And I promise you it is. You just have to give it some time, give it a chance. And, If you want to reach out to me, by all means, you can. Tom at realrecoverytalk.com and Ben at realrecoverytalk.com. We'll gladly have a conversation with you about your situation. And there's no stupid questions. There's nothing that you can't ask or share with us that we probably haven't heard or done ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed this one. And in the end, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.